My name's Neil Fallon and I sing for Clutch, and you are watching 3 Dot Mag. We started off as a high school band. We were a band, I got into it by default. I wasn't academically excellent, and I certainly didn't have any sports skills. But I liked listening to heavy metal and hardcore and punk rock, and I gravitated towards those people. And then, like most teenagers, you want to start a band and emulate the bands that you like, and that's what we did. And then we just wanted to play shows and started playing shows. And I, for years thought that that was something I was going to do before I got another job, because you get told over and over again by your parents and your teachers, the people around you, have fun while it lasts, because it's all going to come crashing to a halt. And I bought that for a while. In hindsight, I wish I hadn't, because once I realized that, yeah, I can do this, and maybe there'll be some dire times where I'm living hand to mouth, but once I kind of put that up as a goal, it became a lot easier to deal with those times that were shitty. There are bad days in this job, but I'd rather have bad days in this job than great days in a job that I just saw as a job. Because, this isn't a job. This is fun. This is a passion, and I'd rather go to my grave having done something I love than something I didn't. Well, I was pleased with the record as soon as we were done with it. I knew that we had made a good record, and but it really did some wonders for us, and especially overseas. And it was pretty gratifying, considering that we put the record out on our own record label, and we charted. Not that that's ever really our concern as a band, but now that we're our own record label, now that we kind of pay more attention to that kind of stuff. So that was pretty gratifying. And this is probably the first record that we've played every song off of pretty regularly right off the bat. A lot of other records, some songs just never see the light of day. We're going to start slowing down on the touring and kind of wrap up our official support of Earth Rocker. Clutch is always going to be on tour, so it's kind of, I don't know, it's not as if we're going to stop touring. But we got Australia in February. We've got England and some European festivals in the spring and summer. But for the most part, this summer we're going to concentrate on writing the next record, because I think we've got a lot of good momentum and we want to capitalize on it. We don't really think about it too much. We just kind of follow our collective gut instinct, and I think it's sort of a reflection of where our heads are at the time. Earth Rocker we did talk about quite a bit beforehand, and I think that helped, and we'll probably do the same this time around. But really, it hasn't changed much since 1991, and just basically going into John Paul's basement and playing riffs until we find one that we like. That's all. That's the secret. Well, I think a lot has changed industry-wise, but one thing hasn't changed, and that's just people's desire to hear good music, and don't get distracted with all the peripherals that people seem to put on pedestals, like social media and getting likes or whatever. It's, at the end of the day, live music is supposed to be played in front of people, and you got to do it. If you're not doing that, then really I don't consider you to be a band. And you make your mistakes, you have crappy shows, but you keep on doing it, and you'll learn a lot, and you won't realize it until you say, hey, I've actually gotten somewhere and get in a van. We've grown up together, we've learned a lot together. There's been feast and there's been famine, and when we were on major labels and we got dropped, we did what we always do, and that was just go back out on tour and play, because that was the one thing we knew we could do and no one could ever change, even if it were for a very small crowd. I think now that I'm older and I realize that I'm doing something creatively for a living, that I get to write rock and roll music and perform rock and roll music, and really those are the only two things that I'm kind of required to do. I realize how lucky I am because I know a lot of guys that would love to do that but can't for whatever reason, or just tried and it never happened for them. And to have the same group of dudes doing that together is a pretty rare thing, and I've really come to appreciate the position that we're in. Well, I think nowadays, if there's one thing that kind of strikes me, it's just how many bands it seems like there's out there now. I don't know if there's always been that many bands, or just you can reach them now. I would hate to be a band now trying to come up, because it's just so many other distractions, other bands, people talking about genres, and people's attention spans, I think, are shorter. I remember, and it's probably the same in this town as in any. There was that one or two record stores that you had to go to if you wanted a punk rock or a metal record or a hardcore record. You drove there and you held your $20 in your hand and you pulled your hair out making a decision. Now you download 80 hours of music and you might listen to half an hour of it if you're lucky. It's great that you can reach your fans directly, but it's almost an embarrassment of riches. There's just so much shit out there. Some of it great, most of it terrible. It just takes a lot of patience to sort through it all. But at the end of the day, one thing hasn't changed, and people just want to go to a nightclub and listen to rock and roll and drink beer. It's really quite simple. Well, we had a very kind of, and we still do, compared to some other bands, a very smaller fan base, but they're much more rabid. We never had a radio hit to deal with, and thank God, because that would have really fucked us up. And it took longer to build up this fan base, but I know they're diehards, and we feel obligated to do our best every night for these people, because they could be doing something else. And as far as Australia and the rest of the world goes, people do bitch about file sharing. And I understand that. I mean, it'd be great if everybody had to buy a Clutch record. I might be able to renovate my bathroom. But the fact of the matter is, file sharing, I know when file sharing started, that's when Clutch's shows got a lot bigger. And those translated to merchandise sales. We were never going to make our money off of platinum records anyway, because, look at us, we're ugly. So people heard of something for free that they quote unquote stole, then they came to the club. So it worked out all right for us. And our biggest show this year was in Athens, Greece. We haven't sold a single record in Greece. No, I'd just like to thank Clutch fans for, honestly, 2013 was the best year this band has had in 22 years. We've seen and done and accomplished things we never thought we would. And it's because of Clutch fans, because if they weren't here, we wouldn't be here. I'd be doing something horrible, I know. So, thank you. There's no story behind it. I think we like Prong, and we like the sound of that name. There's also a local band called Swizz, and we like the sound of that name. We were into the monosyllabic, one-word band name at the time. And I think we intended to change it, but we just never got off our asses and did that.